Katrina and Bob, good afternoon. As you say, the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, has reaffirmed for the second time now that absent swift action to raise the debt ceiling, the U.S. will likely begin defaulting on its debts as early as the 1st of June. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says that means that he and President Biden must cut a deal before this weekend. As of just a few minutes ago, however, at the White House press briefing, which just wrapped up, retired Rear Admiral John Kirby, spokesman for the National Security Council, indicated that the president still intends to leave tomorrow for a lengthy trip to Asia to attend the G7 summit.
I'm not teasing anything, Ed. I'm just trying to tell you what's going on. And what's going on right now is we're hopping on Air Force One tomorrow, and we're heading to Japan, and we're going to have a good meeting at the G7, and we're going to evaluate the rest of the trip, and we'll see what happens. We'll see where things go.
Today's session with congressional leaders comes fully 1 week after the last one. White House and leadership staff aides have been huddling since then. President Biden has insisted on a clean debt ceiling hike with no strings attached, while House Republicans have passed a bill offering a one-year hike to the debt ceiling tied to budget cuts that would keep federal discretionary spending at fiscal year 2022 levels. Now, while the White House says the president can be president from anywhere, Speaker McCarthy cautioned earlier today that the president's departure tomorrow could pose problems for reaching a deal.
The president is the president of the United States. He can make that decision one way or another, but all I know is we got 16 more days to go. I don't think I'd spend 8 days somewhere out of the country. I think the country wants an American president focused on solving American problems.
Vice President Kamala Harris is supposed to attend today's session in the Oval Office between the president and congressional leaders. However, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, when asked if Vice President Harris would step into President Biden's shoes, so to speak, and host meetings on the debt ceiling in his absence, refused to say that she would, only suggesting that the vice president is a valued advisor to President Biden on this and other issues. Bob and Katrina.
All right, James Rosen, thank you. Joining us right now to discuss, West Virginia Congressman, a member of the Financial Services Committee, Representative Alex Mooney. Congressman, I guess everybody wonders, is this a game of chicken? Because that's what it looks like to a lot of people watching this unfold. And the danger is you could suddenly see interest rates going up. That could hurt the housing industry. People would worry, will they get their Social Security checks? And there's a lot of that worry going on right now. So should people be worried about that?
I mean, we're committed to passing a bill that does raise the debt ceiling, but also cuts spending. I'm proud of the House of Representatives. We're the only body in Congress that's passed anything. The U.S. Senate needs to act next. Our bill that we passed is sitting in the U.S. Senate awaiting action. Over there, they have a filibuster. So both parties have to come together and come up with an agreement. That's the next process here. Then the House and Senate reconciles the differences, and the president can sign or veto the bill. But the Senate needs to act on this. I think the Democrats were counting on Speaker McCarthy and us in the House of Representatives to fail to pass anything, and they were wrong. We passed the bill. We got our act together. We did the right thing. Now we need the Senate to act before the deadline hits.
Congressman, while we have you, I do want to get your thoughts on the border, specifically this. According to the Center for Immigration Studies, President Joe Biden's Department of Homeland Security has been coordinating mass crossings of migrants with Mexico's immigration service at high levels on an encrypted WhatsApp channel. Now, the Mexican officers explained that their senior officers were in touch with U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials about how many immigrants were gathered and prepared to cross the river at any given time. Congressman, it seems like we keep getting little tidbits about the fact that the Biden administration does have a plan with the border, and it is to help let more and more people into the country. Am I reading that incorrectly?
You're reading it correctly. Biden's plan is to completely ignore the law of this country and bring folks in and just flagrantly avoid the law. Recently, the Mexican president said that no fentanyl is coming in from Mexico. The Mexico isn't producing fentanyl or sending it in. That is completely untrue. So I have legislation that says Mexico does not get any more U.S. tax dollars until the president certifies that they're not sending fentanyl across that border to go after our families and our children. So we need to fight back on this. We need to use the power of the purse to fight back and restrict funding.
You recently introduced legislation to suspend economic development aid to Mexico until the president certifies that Mexico is working with the U.S. to crack down on production and trafficking of fentanyl, which is among the problems that an open border, what a lot of people consider an open border, is creating. This is a way, I'm sure, that you're trying to have some leverage on what's happening, correct?
Correct. And look, President Trump did a great thing. He got an agreement with Mexico that people who wanted asylum would stay in Mexico while their claims were adjudicated. That protected our border to a great extent and stopped a lot of the flow, not only of the illegal immigrants, but also the drugs and fentanyl. Now, President Biden has lifted that, and everyone in the world knows you can come right across that border and bring whatever you want with you. So fentanyl is flooding into this country. It's a real issue. It's a crisis, and we need to use everything we can to fight back on this, not the least of which is the power of the purse, which rests in the newly elected Republican House of Representatives. We can simply shut that funding off. So my legislation would do that until such time as the country of Mexico took this fentanyl crisis seriously.
And Congressman, before we let you go, you mentioned, of course, Mexican President Obrador. And in that, not only did he say there was no fentanyl being produced in or consumed in Mexico, but he also said, why don't they, the United States, take care of their problem of social decay? And we know that President Biden has said that he and the Mexican president are working together in a very effective manner. That sounds like yet another lie from this administration.
Well, clearly, I mean, they're shipping those drugs there and profiting from it, and it's totally illegal. I believe in all the above approach, of course. We need education, we need treatment, we need to fund the police. The left in this country wants to defund the police. We need to fund the police so they can protect us. We need to do everything we can, but that doesn't say that Mexico should be allowed to just have these open borders and send these drugs across while gangs and drug dealers are massively profiting off of these addictions, often targeting children. So, we need to do all the above, is what I would say.
Yeah, and again, the Mexican president describing it as the United States social decay. That's tough to hear.
Yeah,
Congressman
really.
Alex Mooney, thanks so much for joining us.